Greetings ladies and gentlemen, Adrian here, welcome back to the channel. Hey, who's ready for a new MMORPG? We have a brand new title that's gonna be launching this summer called Astellia. Astellia will be a AAA MMORPG and we'll break down the details in a second. It's being made by Studio 8 and is published by Baradhor ENA, which operates out of Korea and has a presence in the US for its Western release. So right off the bat, this is a Korean MMORPG. But what's Astellia all about? Let me break down some key features. According to the news release, this game strives to bring back that magical feeling of a classic MMORPG infused with modern fantasy system. Whatever that means. The world of Astellia is bright and vibrant, and players play as Astellian heroes who've been blessed by the stars, and can collect dozens of magical companion fighters known as Astels, so it will have a companion collection system, and they do play a big part for your character's progression and growth. These companions can level and offer you ways to build effective support teams that can combo directly with your character based on classes and skills. So in some ways, that's rather interesting because they're not just collectible pets or mounts that offers passive bonuses like other Korean MMOs tend to do. Next up, Astellia will have 5 classes at launch, which are the Warrior, Ranger, Assassin, Scholar, and Mage. Pretty self-explanatory here, and there is a reliance on having the Holy Trinity group composition for those that prefer it. So yeah, that means tanks, healers, and DPS for content. As for the combat system, the trailer does offer you a sneak peek at what to expect. While the game claims to be classic, it's pretty obvious, to me at least, that this will be an action combat MMORPG. Unless it's a hybrid of the two, we'll have to wait and see. It does have a skill combo system that the game claims is highly customizable and upgradable to influence different outcomes, so you can reduce your cooldowns to increase your accuracy and yada yada. For the game's PvE, not much is mentioned about the open world questing or if there's going to be a main story and narrative, but a lot of emphasis is being put on the game's dungeon system. There will be solo dungeons and group dungeons, and they all scale to varying difficulty levels. There's also PvE arenas, which offers horde mode content where players can test themselves against waves of enemies, solo or grouped. Now for PvP is where it gets a little more interesting, at least for me again. Astellia will have a dedicated, persistent, tri-faction PvP map called Avalon. Think of this as an RVR, or like in ESO's Alliance War in Cyrodiil, or Guild Wars 2's World vs. World. Players will vie for dominance of their faction in Avalon every week for rewards, so this is their large-scale PvP warfare. For small-scale PvP, arenas are also available. And that's the bulk of what was shared with me via their press release, so there's no mention of how the game's crafting system will work, and most importantly, no payment model details as well. The key thing to note here is that the release mentions multiple times that the game is striving to achieve a play-to-win environment, and it aims to kick pay-to-win out of the genre. Well, good luck with that. And just to recap, Astellia launches this summer 2019. For those of you in America, if you're interested in getting a first look or hands-on experience with this MMO, the developers and publishers will be at PAX South on January the 20th, so you can check it out there. Everyone else, keep an eye on their official channels like Twitch, as they may stream their public presentation about the game. Now that we've got all of that details out of the way, I'll share some thoughts. Wii, another Korean MMORPG being released, and guys, I've got nothing against K-MMOs as long as they are innovative, fresh, and importantly fair and fun. I've watched their trailer a dozen times now, and the first thing that it reminds me of is a combination between Black Desert Online and Blast Online. Now, if you took the best parts about those two games I just mentioned and mash them together, you may have a good formula for a fun MMO, provided the bad parts don't see the light of day. The graphics here won't blow you away. I'm certainly not overly excited about how it all looks, but it can be as dull as it wants to be as long as there are substantial amounts of fun and engaging gameplay that doesn't have a made in Korea stamp all over it, which implies over-the-top grinds and heavy monetization, which Astellia already claims it won't do. But how much do we actually know about these guys to trust their word? Some research on the publisher's website shows that they're involved in quite a few mobile MMOs, but Astellia is made from the ground up for the Western market and the global audience, so this isn't a global port version based off a failed version elsewhere, which is a good to know, but that can obviously change in the future. Again, without knowing too much about the game's PvE content, Besides that, there will be dungeons. I'm waiting to hear a lot more about what's the essence of Astellia. What's their selling point here? What's the hook that will make players like me, who are sort of cautious and burned out a little bit by Korean MMOs because of previous games, to actually jump in and give it a shot? PvE, obviously we don't have enough information, so there's no USP there yet, but PvP, I'm really curious about the tri-faction PvP. I'm a big fan of that PvP mode, so the only question remains is how fun is the combat system and the classes will be in order for me to jump in. Will I be checking it out in the summer? Of course, it needs reviewing, doesn't it? So keep your eyes out for news on Astellia. Is it going to be free to play? Is it going to be buy to play? I'm leaning more towards buy to play. I think a lot more KMMOs have recently got into this trend of reinventing their image away from pay to win. And one way that they can do that is to get the money up front from a buy to play model. So we'll have to wait and see what Astellia does. So that's it from me, folks. Head on over to the official website. I've got links below for you to check out. Let me know what you think of Astellia so far based on what you heard, and hit the like button for more MMO news. Feel free to subscribe to the channel for vids and get notified on all my latest uploads. Once again, I'm Adrian, and I thank you for watching. Is definitely the combat system, because it's all action-based combat system. And then for boss fights, throughout the entire fight, it becomes reactive. All right, what am I doing now? How am I going to bounce back if I get hit and knocked down? Then you have to retaliate with a retaliation skill. So it's got a pretty in-depth combat system based around this action combat.